So it has a beer, Spitfire, which I'm now going to crack open for another beer time, which actually a week after the previous one. I wasn't actually going to plan on doing one again until like the new year, but Content ID came up, and so I wanted to do my own thing on it. I didn't really necessarily want to do it via brew time. Oh, it's actually been sitting around a little bit too long to taste a little bit off, but I'm in no way sponsored by Spitfire, by the way, YouTube, just putting that out there. So do not claim that I am, and that I need to declare that, because I'm not. I had this before, I featured Spitfire, featured the Spitfire logo or something weird, and YouTube claimed that I was sponsored by them, and I was advertising their product, or some bullshit, so... It has come from the fridge, and I know a lot of people will be saying, oh well, you shouldn't keep it out in the fridge. I don't give a flying fuck, because I like Spitfire straight out of the fridge. It's one of the few few ales I like enjoying cold. It's actually just a very generic ale, really. It's not anything that special, really. I have had my hair chopped. I've decided to style it a little bit, see what I think. I think it looks quite good. But anyway, I wanted to discuss Content ID because everybody else was, and I kind of wanted to do my own thing on it and kind of go against the status quo about Content ID and everything else surrounding YouTube's copyright laws and stuff like that. A lot of the big YouTubers have been moaning and bitching and whining and crying about it. And I mean, fair enough. That some of the big YouTubers, as much as they're a bunch of cunts and a bunch of dickheads, I'm only saying that, but not because I'm bitter, but because they genuinely are. Like Woody's Gamertag, for instance, is just a twat. I just can't see how people like his stuff because I just think he's a dickhead. There's quite a few there's a load of Call of Duty idiots kicking about that are just like, why do people enjoy that? I mean, yeah, fair enough, the gameplay's good, but some of the stuff they come out with is just like, oh no, shut up. But yeah, fair enough for them. Those guys, it's their living, and yeah, okay, they've got to moan about it because they're not getting the monetization on their videos, which is fair enough. If you've got to live off of it, then that's fine. But however, there's some of us that aren't living off of it. I mean, there's no bloody way in hell I would be able to live off the money I make on YouTube because it's just not worth it. By the time, my ad revenue is increasing all the time because of you lot, because you're watching content which is really great, and so my revenue every month is going up and up and up, and eventually I might be able to get to a stage where it's not, it's obviously not going to be my main job, but I can use that to put back to the community to create better content, to buy new equipment, to do giveaways, that kind of stuff. And that's where I want to get it to. It would be nice to do it as a job, full-time job, but it's not likely to happen, especially now. I think I've missed the bubble with YouTube because it's probably about to burst anytime soon. But I think, a lot of these big YouTubers have been moaning about Content ID and things like that. So what I'll do is I'll explain what Content ID is, and then kind of go from there. So if you haven't already heard, Content ID is kind of the way YouTube now recognises copyrighted content. Content ID already kind of existed, and it looked out for things like music, so it would scan your video to make sure it didn't have any music that you already knew about, things like stills and pictures and all sorts of bits and pieces, because it's all an automated process. Pretty much there's no human involvement with it at all, because if there was, you'd have to employ Christ knows how many millions of people to watch every single video on the internet, and they'd make mistakes, and yeah. So what they do is they employ this automated system that looks for every video on YouTube and just looks to see whether or not it's got any copyrighted content, any music on there that shouldn't have, any pictures and things like that it shouldn't have, and then you dispute that claim when it comes to it. Now, back in the old days, YouTube pretty much erred on the side of caution in that if there was any doubt that your video was a little bit questionable, it would always ban it or non-monetize it, and then you'd have to prove that you own the rights to it. Most of the time, it's a case of just delving down into the terms of service with the game. There's gameplay, for instance, delving down into the terms of service and finding the specific paragraph that says about who owns the content and things like that. More often than not, if you just put down who actually owns the content, so for instance, you say All of this is original gameplay by me, except everything's owned by EA and and its affiliates, for instance. So all the intellectual property rights are those of EA, but this is original gameplay. Usually, 9 times out of 10, it's absolutely fine. Apart from some things like Ubisoft, for some bizarre reason, although Ubisoft have come out recently and said that they don't like Content ID, apparently, which is another reason why I don't upload gameplays. Because it's a pain in the ass. It really is. Like, I'm not affiliated with any network because I just do not want to. I do not want to sign a contract. I don't want to have somebody else take a share of my profits. Or profits, quote unquote. I don't want anybody sharing that with me. Because I don't generally do gameplays and let's plays. And I'm not the type of channel, I guess, that kind of does a lot of it, stuff that could potentially be copyright or copyright infringed upon. Because most of the stuff I create is me sitting in front of a camera, me doing stuff within Windows, for instance, me showing pieces of software off, and not generally gameplays. Because as much as you guys, it's the thing that I always get requests is people say, "Can you do more gameplays? Let's do more Let's Plays." And the reason I don't, A, is time. B, I just think you guys would find it boring. I just don't, because it's difficult to create a gameplay and then talk about it for Christ knows how long it is, like half an hour or whatever it is. I always find it really difficult, and so either I've got to then chop bits out, which takes so long to edit, and I generally find the quality of the outputted product is crap. I mean, if you use a hotbog, it's really shit. If you use Fraps, it's alright, but it still seems to end up being shit at the end of it in terms of its quality and its bit rate. I don't quite know how. And so generally I just don't like doing them because they're just a pain in the ass. And then you always get a shitty email from YouTube saying, "Oh, you need more information about this video." And always is the case. If I upload a gameplay, apart from Euro Truck Simulator, actually, I think that was the only gameplay. Euro Truck Simulator and Spin Tires was the only two gameplay videos I've ever uploaded that I've never had a copyright claim made against it. Or like something that YouTube says, or you need to provide us with a bit more information before we proceed. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not the copyright holders that are, saying take this video down. It's YouTube themselves protecting themselves a little bit before you actually, like usually a couple of days after you've uploaded it, it scans your video, sees that it's got some copyrighted content on it, and then says, "Are you sure you've definitely got the rights to this?" And if you are sure, then pretty much 9 times out of 10, it's alright. It does usually take quite a while though for that to actually catch up, and for them to re-enable monetization on your videos. Which doesn't bother me so much because monetization on gameplay videos, I don't get many views from, so it doesn't really matter in terms of monetization. And like I've always said, like I've always maintained, I'm not in it for the money, because if I was, I'd be bloody stupid because I don't get any money really from it. I'm in it for giving back to the community and doing it because I enjoy it. Because if I didn't enjoy it, there'd be no point in me doing it. So one thing that kind of annoys me about everybody bitching and moaning about it is the fact of the matter is that they are probably in violation of the copyright that's protecting the games. Now, obviously, this is down to. I mean, what YouTube have obviously done is they've become more aggressive with Content ID because they're getting a lot of pressure from the likes of the music industry and things like that and even the gaming industry to make sure that their copyright doesn't infringe or anything, and they're trying their best to try and kind of do it good for both their content creators and the people that own the content and own the copyright to it. And a lot of times it's to do with music. A lot of times the game publishers are licensed to use the music within the games, and that's it. That's the only license they have. They don't have the license to use it anywhere else. So you can't use it in personally created content and things like that. Because most of the game publishers and most of the game creators have actually released public statements saying, we don't have any part of this. We don't want Content ID to exist because you guys help us out, grow our business and everything else. Because the fact of the matter is, gameplays and Let's Plays, unless they're crap, generally have a positive impact on the industry, because what they do is they, like walkthroughs, for instance, and they enable people to see, things like game reviews, for instance, and walkthroughs, and generally things like that, get people to buy games. Because you see somebody talking, especially one of the big YouTubers, if a big YouTuber just demos a game, for instance, and it's not necessarily well known, a lot of times his customer base, or the people that watch his videos, are then going to go out and buy that. Because they've not heard of it before. And it's the same with anything else. You're looking for reviews and stuff, and you see a game, you really like the content, and you really like whoever's created some really cool stuff, and so you go out and buy the game. And actually, probably the amount of sales that they get from it is probably quite a lot. I suspect it probably the amount of sales they probably get from people creating creating fan-based content probably equates to much more than their advertising revenues ever could. So I think it's detrimental to them to actually, to use Content ID, to claim copyright and all this other bullshit. However, I do think that, they're quite within the rights to do that. UK law dictates that we have this thing called fair use. Now, somebody was going on, some idiot, I'm going to call them an idiot because I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, they were referring to US law, but even so, they were going on about the fact that you produce content for a website called YouTube and you sign up to the terms of service, and so therefore the copyright law doesn't matter because you signed a contract with YouTube and the contract is between you and YouTube, and nothing doesn't come into copyright law. But the fact of the matter is, it does, especially in the UK, because the content you create, as much as it's gone to a third-party site, you still own the copyright of that video. The video you've created is yours. Yeah, it's gone through YouTube, and YouTube may claim some copyright to it, but you, yourself, and you are the person that's created the content, and it's only you that can claim copyright to it and that can claim intellectual property rights to it, because you're the person that's sitting in front of the camera, you're the voice that's projecting to it, and you're the person that's created the content, edited it together, put the work in, and everything else. So, from the UK law standpoint, copyright law does matter on YouTube. Now, I've studied copyright law quite in depth, gone into the whole rigmarole of law for both, copyright and also the terms of service that most game creators have. If you actually look in the copyright for things like SimCity, for instance, you can actually, grab the little bit that EA basically says that everything's owned by us. Sometimes they do have specific things in their terms of service that says we don't have any problems with you actually uploading to YouTube. You can do that. Everything you create is yours. Sometimes they actually specifically say you can't do that, and it's kind of it's a pain in the ass, basically. If you're going to do Let's Plays, you can do gameplays, you really need to be affiliated with a network, because they're going to then pay the royalties to the people that need to get paid, or they're going to help you get over the copyright claims in the first place. Me going solo, I try, because I want to go solo, I don't want to be affiliated. I'm partnered with YouTube. I'm not partnered with anybody else. So that's what a lot of people are asking me about is, oh, how come you've got all this stuff? I've got all this stuff because I've worked damned hard, and I've got a decent user base, and I've got a decent subscriber base. I've got a decent amount of watch time. My channel's in good standing, and I don't fuck around with affiliates, because generally, more often than not, I just find them annoying and arrogant and just generally pretty shit. And the amount of money they take from them is just not necessarily worth the amount they give back to you. Oh god, this is quite nice. It does taste a little bit off, that Spitfire, but it's damn good. So yeah, I'm not affiliated in any way to any other company apart from YouTube. The only affiliation I have, or the partnership I have, is with YouTube directly, because I've got the channel to where I like it. I mean, I've got about 600 subscribers now, which is fantastic. I kind of wanted about 1,000 before Christmas, but I'm not going to complain. I mean, I get enough views now. Pretty much every video I upload, I get about 250 views within a week, which is brilliant, which is fantastic. I mean, even a couple of months ago when I uploaded videos, I would be lucky if I got 50 views. And now I'm getting, at least 250 views a video. And, I guess that's not that many. But in the big scheme, well, for me, 250 views, that's 250 people watching my videos. If you get them into a room together, that's quite, it's quite a large number of people. But in the UK, I'm going to bore you a little bit with UK legislation. There is this thing called fair use. Now, a lot of people just bang on about fair use and just say, oh, it's fair use, and not really understanding what fair use really means. Now, fair use was originally designed for free media. So obviously the state couldn't then control media. So fair use basically dictates you can use video, specifically video, not pictures. You can use video for the reasons of fair use, for the reasons of critique, news reporting, and that kind of stuff. So media kind of reporting and those things. And you can use video to your heart's content without worrying about it at all. I mean, a lot of companies put like a courtesy of, just as a courtesy. Really, they don't have to by law. There's nothing stopping that, saying they have to, because if it's in the public domain, then you can use it to your heart's content. If something was shown on Sky News and the BBC used it, then there's fair game they can do, because they've got, if they do news reporting or critiquing it, then they can do that to their end. And more often than not, that's the kind of stuff that's on YouTube. You can use videos and stuff if you're critiquing it and you're putting news reports to it. You're reporting the news. In terms of a free and open media, then yes, you can perfectly do that. You're quite within your rights to do that. But a lot of people just say, fair use without doing any of those things. I mean, if you're creating a review, that's critiquing, that kind of stuff. And this is where the grey area comes in terms of gameplay, because gameplay isn't specifically stated there. Pictures are specifically stated. You can't use pictures without paying royalties, without any of that. Video you can, but pictures you can't. In UK law, you cannot use still pictures for free, even if they're in public domain, even if you courtesy them, it doesn't matter, you can't do it. But video, you can do it to your heart's content. If it's for the purposes of news reporting and critiquing, you can do it to your heart's content, but if it's pictures, you can't. You have to pay the content creator or the copyright owner that owns the intellectual property rights to be able to use that content. And a lot of people don't really understand that. It's really simple. It's quite a simple law, really. It's not difficult. If you actually look it up, it's quite simple to read. And I mean, US copyright law is a little bit different. They've got that fair use thing, but in actual fact, that fair use is better than our fair use in that you can use pictures and pretty much everything within that. So pictures and video and all sorts of stuff. But I always quote 3 separate bits of legislation. I quote the US law, I quote the UK law, and I quote the EU law, because EU law is even better than UK law. It pretty much says that you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want as long as it's within purposes of news reporting or critiquing, because the EU, as much as they're a big, nasty, horrible blight on European sort of continent, they actually do quite a lot of good for free and open speech. As they're not, once in a while they'll go a bit and backtrack crazy and listen to the MPAA, but more often than not the EU is actually pretty good, and there's some of the laws that state that pretty much all their member states have got to sign up to this, including the UK, although we ignore a lot of the stuff that goes on, and then we then don't ignore some of the stuff that really is stupid. So yeah, so under UK, EU and US law, pretty much the 3 that really matter. I mean, no offence to any other countries, but pretty much that's the kind of content that's created. I mean, I don't know what Australian law is like. Australia is probably irrelevant again, and things like New Zealand. But most of the countries that are pretty much ex-British territories, for instance, are the ones that are creating the content, especially the US. I mean, the US not necessarily an old part of the British Empire, I suppose they were for a little bit, but they're kind of a separate entity. But say the places like Australia and New Zealand pretty much, I guess, would be similar to the UK in terms of law, because they pretty much copy everything we do anyway. But yeah, I mean, you just got to look it up, and you've got to be sensible with it, and if you're going to do this, and you're going to jump in the deep end, if you're not affiliated, then yes, this is the kind of effort you've got to go through. And it's, I've learned the hard way from doing all this. I've learned it the hard way. It's not, creating content is not easy. Trust me, it really is not easy. People think they can just pick up a camera and pick up a microphone and just do it, but it's not that simple at all. It really isn't. I mean, if you look back at the stuff that I did before, like when way back when I had my shitty Sony camera and I had no microphone, it's just crap. It's all rubbish, because most of the stuff I talk about is bullshit. Most of the way I talk is just crap. The audio is rubbish. The video is crap, and it's just shit. I'm mostly spouting crap because I just wanted to get into it. Now I'm actually creating videos regularly. I've got a fan base now, people I can interact with, which is really great. And it's just, people actually want me to create content, and they enjoy it, and they get annoyed when I don't create content. Like, if I don't upload something for a week, I've got about 10 people that will give me aggro on Twitter at least, and several more that will say, "Oh, dude, when you upload a new video," and all this other stuff. And this is that, IRL people who I assumed back in the day were being very sarcastic when I was creating content, but actually they really genuinely enjoy the content I create, which is great. And that's fantastic. And if I could do it for free, and if I could create content for free, and I had enough money to pay for cameras and mics and stuff without having to worry about it, I would just release things free. I would Creative Commons everything, and you guys could just do whatever the hell you wanted with it. You could, I don't care. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't earn £500,000 a year, and I'm not in a position where I can do that because of my current job situation. But yes, Content ID is a necessity because people upload a lot of stuff that is in violation of copyright, and a lot of people are taking the piss. People think that they're entitled to use content as they so wish for free without paying royalties to anybody, especially when we've got this user-generated stuff, because they're like, well, I don't earn any money, so why the hell? I don't earn hardly any money, so why the hell should I give back to the content creators or the people that create it? They've got only intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights and all that other stuff exists for a reason, because if the little guy invents something that's really cool, they own the intellectual property rights. I mean, it's the likes of I mean, there's been a few people that really don't actually own a company, but they own the intellectual property rights for stupid things. They've invented stuff, and then someone else has not bought, but they are licensed to produce a product for that person, and that person's getting all the royalties and all the, all the stuff for it. I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head that's getting that kind of, the kind of money that's not necessarily famous, but they're getting all that kind of money. I guess the people that invented things like gum and I suppose, I don't know. Because a lot of stuff has just been created by accident, and then a lot of stuff is just they own the intellectual property rights to it because of some weird reason, and so they've got the right to claim copyright onto it, and say that we need that. You can't just go saying, well, one rule for one and all this other stuff, because if you start taking the piss, then big companies can take the piss as well, and the big companies can take the piss out of the little guys, and then it's not fair. So you've kind of got to give and take a little bit. I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, YouTube's now shit. I don't think this is necessarily the fault of YouTube. This is the fault of... Well, it's a fault of the YouTube community to a certain extent because they've taken the piss. They've not done it... I mean, obviously you get the illegal people that upload content, and I still think that you should be able to upload, if you want to upload something for free, well, pretty much, if you're uploading something for free, there's no... If it's free, you pretty much can do whatever the fuck you want. So if, for instance, I wanted to upload Leona Lewis's new album as like a video, which people do, which is weird, I could do that as long as I don't monetize it. Pretty much that's pretty much the thing. I mean, they might put a copyright claim against it, but if you're not earning any money from it, you can't really... they've not really got a leg to stand on, especially in court. If we went to court, they would just say, well, are they earning any money from it? Are they actually nicking any profits from you? No, well then... two fingers, see you later. And the problem is, in the UK it's a little bit different because UK law is very nice. It's very, although it's still a little bit shit for the average everyday man. In actual fact, you've got a lot more rights than the big companies do in terms of courts. Because in America, if you went to court, say you took like Sony BMG or whoever they are, the Sony Music Group, for instance, took you to court. Pretty much they're guaranteed to win because they've got more resources, more money, and they're just going to go and just create all this legal battles and legal paperwork to basically bankrupt you. In the UK, you can't really. I mean, you can try, but you can't really do it. We have our legal system is actually pretty good, although obviously the other guy would have the better lawyer. There's not this appeals process. You can appeal once and that's it. Whereas in America, you can appeal and appeal and appeal until you win, pretty much in certain states. Whereas in the UK, you can't really appeal. You can appeal once in the standard court you've already gone through, and then you can move it up the chain to the court of the High Court and go from there. Very rarely it's ever going to actually get to that kind of stage because then you're looking at legislation and stuff. Content ID, I think, is a necessity of YouTube because of the content that's uploaded, because of the intellectual property right holders. I think it's fair enough if you own your intellectual property rights. You're more than welcome. It's within your rights and your purview to make sure that your copyright is policed and is maintained. Because if you don't do it, people take the piss. And I still think though it's not good business sense. It doesn't make good business sense for you to claim copyright on everything. If you're a games developer or a games publisher or whatever, there's been a few indie games developers that have done it, and then they've shot themselves in the ass basically because then the people they've done it to are quite big YouTubers, and they've slagged the games off because they've slagged the games off in the first place, and then they've, as opposed to just fixing the things that were wrong with it, they just then put copyright claims against the person, and it's just like, what the fuck. So yeah, I mean, it's a difficult situation for a lot of people, I guess, but for the majority of people that are just, likes of me that have got 600 subscribers, thousands of subscribers, they're not going to really, it's not going to make much difference to any of them because they're earning what, $60 a month, something like that. I don't know, I can't say for everybody else, and I can't say what mine is either because that's against YouTube's terms of service. As much as they're probably never going to check. Again, it's I've signed the terms of service. Essentially, I use his service, and so therefore I've got to abide by its rules and regulations, even if I don't agree with them. And if I don't agree with them, I can leave, which is the other thing. Like, if you don't agree with YouTube's terms of service and all the other crap, just leave. Because most of the people that are moaning and whining about it are the people you want to leave anyway, because they're a bunch of cunts. Like, pretty much everybody that's in Machinima at the moment. I mean, no offense to Machinima, but I reckon the majority of people there are just dickheads. It's the same with, I'm just trying to think who are the other affiliates to do with well, like the MLG people and Optic people, they're all just a bunch of cunts because they're all self-centered, egotistical wank stains. I know that's a very broad generalisation, but generally that's what I think. I mean, I don't want to pick out Woody's Gamertag, but Woody's Gamertag is a very good example of a dickhead. Just got no time for him at all. I just think he's arrogant. I just don't like him, and I'm sure people don't like me. I don't really care. I mean, we live in a free and open democratic society. I like people to critique me. I like people to tell me what I've done wrong, what I've done well, because it means I can get better. And if people just, I mean, there's a difference between people just hating because they just say, oh, this, that, and the other, just hating for hating's sake, and those that are actually genuinely giving you proper feedback. But that's kind of that. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. It's been a bit of a rant. Beer time has not been quite as chilled out as I kind of wanted it to be, but I wanted to get on my chest, and it wasn't something I wanted to discuss with Brewtime, because Brewtime's kind of more of a newsy thing, and I kind of want to move the personal stuff away, some things that are relevant to me and things that are relevant to YouTube, moving it away from Beer Time to go to Brewtime to go to Beer Time. I have to say, that Spitfire is quite nice. One thing I wanted to end on is what I want to do with this kind of format of Beer Time is I want to get people on. I want to get guests on either IRL or via Skype or something like that. Kind of, well, not. I want to say kind of in the format of PKA, but not PKA. Kind of, which is kind of like a show that you kind of, I talk to people and we just talk about stuff. But what I want to try and do is if I'm going to do that, I want to try and keep it about half an hour long, because that's kind of the kind of length that I really need it to be. Brew times I'm going to try and keep it under about 20 minutes, 10 minutes, because it's kind of like a short, sweet thing. But actually, people like half an hour videos now. I'm quite surprised that when I've created a lot of brew times have been half an hour, they've got quite a lot of views, considering, because most people just want like a 10-minute video, and if it's, like a 5-minute video, and it's any longer than that, they just can't be fucked with it, and they just ignore it. So half an hour videos are kind of, I didn't really want to do half an hour videos, but actually, you guys, that's what you want. You want a proper show, and there's been a few, there's a guy I know IRL that did say he wanted to do a few collabs and stuff like that, and I'm quite happy to do that. And I want to kind of get out this kind of setting, this whole my room setting, because it's just shit. It's like, it's the same old crap, it's the same old background, and I kind of want to, the audio, like the environment I'm in is a bit crap. I live with other people as well, so they're booming and banging about the place. And so I want to try and, we'll get my own place would be really good, and get in a proper, not studio, but kind of like a proper space that this is always dedicated, set up all the time. And I can move around quite easily because it's kind of quite squished in here. If you could actually see what I can see, it's just very manic in here. And I might do a tour at some point, but I need to have a proper tidy up of my room, I guess. But yeah, so I want to get out of this, in the room, kind of, I want to go outside. But that means I've got to get a decent mic. I've got to get a shotgun mic, so I'll probably have to go and get a Video Mic Pro, which is fine. I mean, they don't cost that much, but it's just another expense that I've got to spend. And I've still got to live, and I've still got to eat, and I've still got everything else to do. Again, it might be something I might decide, to do like a donation link, but most people, when I mentioned that last time, they weren't too happy about that. So I might just save up what I get from the channel revenue and just go from there, because at the moment it's steady, I guess. It'll probably take me a couple of months to probably about 3 months to actually save up enough money to go and get a mic, but that's fine. I mean, I want to there's several videos I want to do, some personal videos I want to do, and some other ones I just want to go out and about, especially at Christmas. I'm going to try and do some at Christmas. The only trouble is I probably won't be uploading them until after Christmas, because I'll be in Cornwall, and I'll be at my parents' place in Cornwall, and I mean, there's some great places, locations to film at, but really I need a cameraman to film it, really, and there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to upload at my parents' place. I get something stupid like 100 kilobytes a second up and 4 megabytes down. It's just, it would take me at least 24 hours to upload a video. It's already taken me about 6 hours to upload a video now if I upload it at home, like here in Plymouth. So I end up usually doing that at work or somewhere else because the broadband speed's insane. I might consider, if I get my own place, getting 100 up and down, but that requires me to have a permanent job, and that's kind of seems to be really difficult to get at the moment. I've got a lot of ideas for creating a lot of IT content. I mean, there's loads of stuff I need to do with IP file. I need to do an IP file review. I do need to do more reviews. A lot of people are saying we want you to do more reviews because, well, for two reasons. A, because they think they're really good. They like my input on what the stuff that I get and the stuff that I buy and some of the stuff that exists around and about the place. And secondly, that's where all the money is. Like, as much as I'm not in it for the money, things like my Astro video probably has earned me the most money out of everything, and it still continues to do so. Both of my Astro videos score really highly. Things like my home server videos scored really high in terms of views and view count and watch count and all that other stuff. And it's the same with the IP file stuff. I've got the IP file eco, really sweet device. I'm going to do like a first impressions and a review, and then like some really cool stuff. Maybe setting up and things like that afterwards. Perhaps not so in depth, but we'll have to look at that, and I might have to speak to some of the guys over at IP file because I might need a bit of a hand for that. But yeah, what I'm looking for currently, I'm looking for sponsorship. I'm not actively looking for. I'm not sending people people being like, please begging and all that other stuff, because it's pathetic, and everybody does that. Even people that are nobodies do that, and I'm a nobody, but people that really do have nothing do it. And as much as I'd love to be sponsored by clothing brands, would be really good, because it means that everybody needs clothes. That's something that everybody needs, and so things like that would be really good. Mainly because it means that I don't have to worry about monetization so much. And if I can get rid of monetization, it means that it's not annoying for you lot. Because if there's not monetization in it, or there's no adverts in it, and there's no ad revenue coming in, that means that there's no, you don't have to press the skip button at the beginning if you're not using ad block, for instance. And so I would love to get sponsored, because it means all I have to do is talk about 10 seconds about a product and say go and buy it, here's a link down below, and that's all I need to do. I mean, it's like this Swifted code tea. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but they make some really sweet stuff, and I recommend you go out and buy them. Go out and check their website, which I'll put in the link in the description below. They make some really sweet kit, and yeah, I think they deserve the business. And yeah, it'd be great to be sponsored by them or any number of the indie brands that go around in terms of clothing, which I really love at the moment. But they've got limited money and resources, and I'm not that big. I've only got 600 subscribers. I've not got like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers. And although some of the bigger videos I do will generate like tens of thousands of views, they're probably still not going to generate as much as, I don't know, say somebody that's doing skateboarding, for instance, that's going to go into events and stuff. But yes, that's pretty much all I've got to say on the issue. Put a comment down below about what you think about Content ID. If there's anything specific you want me to cover in a brew time, in a dedicated video, ping me an email, ashechill@gmail.com, with your thoughts and suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions about whatever you've got. Please write it in succinct English, because no offence to some of my foreign fans, but some of the stuff I get through is really, but to the extent I can barely understand what on earth you're talking about. No offence, I know English is a really difficult language, but sometimes just kind of, put it in a way that's, not necessarily grammatically correct, although that does annoy me, but in a way that I can understand it, because I get loads of requests through about all sorts of stuff, and I can barely understand what on earth you're going on about. So yeah, if you're going to send me an email, just do it in a succinct manner, and don't be foolish about it. I know that's really offensive, but yeah, I get a lot of emails from weird and wonderful people that just can't really string a sentence together. I don't really understand what they're really talking about, and it takes me about 5 emails to actually figure out what they're talking about. Same with comments on my major videos. You've got the people that just talk rubbish, and you're just like, what are you talking about? Say something constructive. You can also follow me on Twitter, ashechill, of course. I'm quite active on there. Just hit me up and let me know what you think. That's what I want to do. Don't just like it. Don't just say really good video. Tell me what you liked about it, what you thought was really shit, and give me some feedback, because I really love that kind of stuff. But yes, I'm going to finish off my Spitfire, which is actually a Movember special edition Spitfire, because it's got the. No, actually it isn't. No, that's completely wrong. No, it's not got the Mo on it. Okay, so it's not got Movember. It's not the Movember one at all. And I'm going to finish that. I'm going to edit these videos together, because I've got about 3 I need to edit, and render and all these other bits and upload. And apart from that, I shall catch you in a later video.